Hey guys, it's Grace. I hope this is in focus. This is round two filming this, but that is okay. I'm just really sad that I lost all that footage before, but I'm back today with another video. Thank you guys for clicking to watch. I so appreciate you watching all my centrifuge stuff, whether it was the actual video or the Q&A. Thank you for leaving all those comments and questions and stuff for me. So today I just wanted to go through something I have not gone through yet, which is how and why I joined the Navy. It's a long story, and I'll leave out some parts for future reference, but to kind of start at the beginning, I'm from a very military dense area, and I grew up in Baltimore, which is kind of right in between Annapolis and Fort Meade. So I was always at both of those places growing up. And what happened was that I was at a school where most of my friends, their parents lived or worked at Fort Meade, which is an Army base, or at the time was an Army base. And Annapolis, of course, is mostly Navy. So I was constantly going over to Fort Meade for sleepovers with my friends, all the way from first grade through high school. I had friends there that whole time, and so it was a great place to grow up and be a kid because the security was pretty good on base, so the parents would just kind of let their kids go around all day long, and so we were able to explore the woods. We went shopping at the exchange, we would go to the pool, so just great places to go when you're young. And I loved the environment there, how everyone was taking care of each other, and there was a very good neighborly spirit. Even though there were constantly people coming and going, anytime someone would leave or come to the neighborhood, it was a big deal, and people made sure they either arrived or were sent off with a lot of love and care. And that was so attractive to me. I loved how people lived on base, and I loved that community. And I just found that I always became friends with the kids at my school who were from military families. And then also my aunt, who is so instrumental in this whole story, my Aunt Colleen, she would take me to Annapolis growing up. And even when I was like 3 or 4 years old, she would have me salute the midshipmen walking around in their whites. And I think I was so afraid of them, I would just kind of hide behind her. And that's just such a funny memory to me because I realized looking back on it that whenever I saw those midshipmen walking around, there was something about them that first of all intimidated me, but also it was a good kind of intimidation. It was like I recognized there was something good about them that I aspired to be like. And so I always kept those things in the back of my mind. But then when it was finally time for me to apply to college and consider what was next for me, it's something I considered, but I didn't really vocalize that because whenever I did, my trusted mentors told me, like, that's not really for you, that kind of place is not for you. And I listened to them and decided to pursue something else. And of course, there was always that feeling I had that I could do it. Like, I knew I could do it, but they kept on emphasizing, like, that place is not for you. And I'm clearly into things that are not like a typical, I don't know, I hate saying that because I've met so many diverse people being in the military that there's not really a typical thing. But, you know, I'm into pageants and modeling, and that's what I was doing when I was in high school, along with other things like pursuing science and interning, doing cybersecurity work. But I guess that wasn't really as visible as everything else. So I got to Villanova and I noticed they had a ROTC unit right away. In fact, I had 2 friends that were in it that were from my hometown. One I had known for like 10 years at the time. I've known her for like 17 years now. But she went to my same elementary school, and she was at Villanova for Navy ROTC as a Navy nurse. Then my other friend was from my hometown, Brent, and he was my physics tutor my first year. He also was just like my carpool buddy. So whenever we'd have to go home from school on breaks and Christmas break, spring break, fall break, all those. We would carpool together. And every time we were in the car, I would ask him so many questions about doing Navy ROTC. And I bet he was just thinking I was asking to make conversation, but I was really asking because I was taking mental notes. I was like, this sounds like something that could be for me. And he's really enjoying it, making good friends, doing well. He also got a 4-year scholarship, which was incredible. And so I was just kind of thinking in the back of my mind, like, this is something that I could do. And so at the time, I went into school as a chemical engineering major. And after my first semester, I switched out of that to computer engineering. Because when I first got to school, I was really struggling, and engineering is not what I wanted to do. It's what had made the most sense for me to do because, like I said before, in high school, I did have a marine ecology internship. I did a lot of cybersecurity work for a summer and several other jobs too that kind of were directing me towards a science and math course. And that's what I focused on in high school. I took as many AP, math, science classes as I could to best prepare me to do engineering in college. And I'm very happy I did. I'm very proud of all the hard work that it took. But it's not initially something that I wanted. So I wasn't doing well. And I found that if your school or your work life are not going well, your life is not going well. And that's where I was at. I really needed something to reinstill the discipline that I was used to from my previous years in school, like in high school and before that. I was in very, very strict places, and there's so many good and bad things to that, but it really kept me disciplined, kept me on a good timeline. I really liked having to be at a certain place at a certain time early in the morning and do this, and this as someone else sets forth for me to do. So I wanted to pursue something that would give me a lot of structure. That's what I needed. So I went through my first year at school, was not doing well, like I said. Another semester went by, sophomore year, and that's when I was like, I almost got this message from God, I feel like, where he told me, this is what I want you to do. This is what you're going to do. And that was arrange a meeting for myself with the ROTC unit there and see what I can do, see if I can join, or how can I join, to at least ask that question. So my friends who were already in the unit were absolutely instrumental in setting that up for me. They got me that initial meeting, told me a little bit about the officers I was about to meet, and also told them a little bit about me. And I went into that first meeting, I think it was like October of my sophomore year, to join the unit that following semester. So I was looking to join in January. So I go to meet this person that I don't know who she is, but she's a Navy lieutenant, and she's the freshman class advisor. So I go into her office, I knock on the door, and she is so friendly. She tells me to come on in and sit down. We have a conversation, and it is so pleasant. It's not at all like the scary military conversation I was expecting, which that happens later. But when you're still looking to join, they treat you normally. So she and I had a good conversation, and it was the first time I had realized there are people like me in the military. Just because I'm, I don't know, really outgoing and bubbly and interested in the things I'm interested in, that there's someone else like that too. And she was so successful. So it was the first time I realized, like, I really can do this, because here's someone who's a lot like myself doing very well. And she was a Navy helicopter pilot. She flew Sierras and was just such an inspiration for me, and is still my good friend to this day. So she's one of the most instrumental people that really changed my life for the better. And as the months went on, I joined the unit. They put me on a very strict study plan. I had mandatory study hours every day, mandatory workouts, I think four times a week. And from there, I started to do very well, because I finally had that structure in my life the military was providing, I think I went from about a 2.1 GPA to about a 3.5 that semester, because I finally had that fire lit under me. I was doing something I was very passionate about, and I had a lot of support from others that became family to me and are still that way now. And I joined the Navy when I was 19, and that's the age I say a lot of times is a very good time to join. 18 or 19, I think, are the best ages. You can, of course, join later than that, but I think during those years, whether you enlist or do a service academy or do Navy ROTC, starting from one of those places kind of gets you into the rhythm a little sooner than some of the other options. And also it gets your life started. It's like in the military, I don't know any other organization that you can get your own house and your own car when you're that young. It's like, what else will let you move out of your parents' house so soon and be self-sufficient? So I can't say enough good things about the path I've chosen thus far. And so that semester, I was a college programmer, which means that I did not have a guaranteed commission and I did not have a scholarship. So I was essentially trying to prove to the Navy that if they took me on, I'd be a good investment for them. And so I emphasized to my class advisor, Lena, well, at the time, Lieutenant Haugen, now Lena, because she's my good friend. I emphasized to her how I felt like my journey doing the Navy thing was a lot like this one story from the Bible where a man finds a pearl of great price and buries that priceless pearl in a field. And then he sells everything he has to purchase that field and to keep the pearl safe. And I told her that is how I feel about this opportunity. I'm willing to give up anything to make sure that this is a success. And so that following summer, I got the phone call from her that I had gotten a 2-year scholarship, which was so incredibly life-changing because we had just found out my mom had lost her job. And so there was some doubt on how am I/my parents going to pay for Villanova, which was a very expensive school. And it was going to be a very uncertain time if that didn't happen right when it did. So I was so incredibly happy to accept that. And it was a miracle. I can't emphasize that enough because, like I said before, I wasn't coming with the best grades. All I had was a lot of zest and a lot of passion, and that's still what I have now. So anyways, I continued with the unit and continued to get my grades boosted and continue to develop my leadership within the battalion. I was just having the time of my life. I had some of the best friends and the best support network I could have asked for while still working really hard at school and doing well. So that summer, I decided to request an aviation cruise, which means that was my first opportunity actually being in the Navy, doing an internship type of situation. So before your senior year, every year if you have a scholarship, but since I only had a 2-year scholarship, I just had one cruise. Before my senior year, I got to spend a month with HSC2 in Norfolk, and they are the Navy Sierra FRS squadron, which means that they train the next crop of Sierra pilots, and those are helicopters. And I had the time of my life. I had the best month I had ever had until that point, and it was just absolutely incredible of a situation because I did not ever think that I would want to pursue aviation until I met that class advisor who was a helicopter pilot that put that idea in my mind. Maybe that's something I can do because someone that's like me is good at that. So that's a whole other story about how I chose aviation, how I became an aviator, and that's what I am now, all these years later. So got back from that cruise, and I was lucky enough to select aviation my senior year, and I went to flight school after that, which I can also make another video about because there's so much more to say. It's been many years since then. But if you have any more questions about my joining the military journey, please leave them below. I'd love to answer them. And I hope this video is helpful to someone who is thinking about joining the military or joining the Navy. I very much stand by that decision as being one of the best decisions of my whole life. And I want to stay in this job, in this career, as long as I possibly can, because I enjoy every day. And it's been hard work, but I also feel like I have not worked yet. And that's like the best thing of all. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.